Hey guys, Eddie Griffin here. I just want to go on a little tangent before we get started with this last episode. I just wanted to say that I love this game and I loved making a series out of it. That said, recording for this game is a massive, time-consuming process. This episode in particular, alongside the previous two, were part of one massive 3.5-hour recording session that came about because there was no room to stop or breathe without killing the pacing of the series. So with that in mind, there are more games in this collection, but I will only be continuing the series with them if the demand is high enough. So with that said, if you really want to see more of the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, you need to let me know in the comments of this video. If I get enough demand, then I will continue the series in a relatively timely manner. If not, then it will be on the back burner for a really long time at worst, or just end up being live streamed at some point at best. So, all that said, I hope you enjoy this potentially last episode of the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. See ya! On a personal note, I must say you've surprised me, my Far Eastern friend. Oh! Despite being a Nipponese, you saw through the pretense to the malice that festered within that Englishman, and at the same time, saw through the grime to the surprising heart of your English client. You have a curious talent for judging character, especially considering our very different cultures. I don't think there's anything curious about it. Whether we're from the Empire of Great Britain or the Empire of Japan, we're all human beings. We're not so very different on the inside. You know, I took this case for one very simple reason. To lock swords with you once again, here in the courtroom. You did? When I encountered you for the first time 2 months ago, it reminded me of toasting friendship and trust with another Nipponese, only to find my trust betrayed. Through you, I hope to look into the eyes of the man I once knew and try to understand. You mentioned something similar earlier today, about total betrayal at the hands of a Japanese. What happened exactly? Well, you may ask. And one day, when the time comes, you will learn the answer, whether you like it or not. Alright, then I'll wait for that day if I must. Coming to be known as the Reaper of the Bailey, and my retirement from service 5 years ago, it gives me cause to wonder if our meeting has some deeper purpose. So, farewell, my learned Nipponese fellow, until we meet again. It's done. It's over at last. But where has Iris disappeared to? Congratulations, Gina. I knew it all along. I knew that you were innocent. Well, you did what you said, Mr. Nara-Odo. You believed in me right up to the end. You're as odd as your name. What's odd about it? I told you I had faith in you, didn't I? No one ever asked before, see? Kept a promise, I mean, properly. That's awful. I figured something out today. All my life, growing up in the slums, I never trusted no one. But that's just cause I've been scared of being stabbed in the back. I mean, the more you trust someone, the more it hurts when they let you down. Yes, I think I can understand that. After all, I had a taste of it in that trial 2 months ago. I chose to trust someone, and paid for it. That betrayal left a big scar. You know though, Gina, I worked something out quite recently too. Trusting in someone else is really an exercise in learning to trust yourself. And when your gut tells you it's the right thing to do, and your trust is rewarded, there's no better feeling in the world. I think I have you to thank for reminding me of that valuable lesson. Oh, well, if you say so. Doesn't make a fat load of sense to me though. I'm trying to say that putting my faith in you, Gina, has been a real pleasure. For crying out loud, pack it in! But I suppose I sort of feel the same way. I mean, sometimes trusting someone else is, you know, alright. Thanks. This is the way I see it, Ryunosuke. A defense lawyer is only as good as his faith in his client. And that comes down to how much faith he has in himself. After this experience, I'm starting to feel like I understand what you mean, Kazuma. Am I living up to your expectations? Am I turning out to be the lawyer you believed I could be? Pardon the interruption. But what the deuce does a man have to do to be noticed around here, my dear fellow? Ah, that voice! It's too late for that voice now, Mr. Naruhodo. I've been standing here patiently in the corner of the room for an eternity. Ha ha ha! Yes, it was me all along, I would have said when finally you noticed me. But you people, with your incessant babbling. Ah, Mr. Sholmes. Ha ha ha! Yes, it was me all along. You see? I'd assumed you'd been taken back to the hospital, to be honest. Indeed I was, but I managed to escape again. Oh. I happen to be aware of one or two foibles of the doctor who was tending to me. I merely made my knowledge of them known to the man, and he happily issued me with a leave of absence. How very above board. But enough of my adventures. That was a fine victory, Mr. Naruhodo. Your tireless efforts justly rewarded, I feel. Congratulations are in order. As a close friend, I tip my hat to you. Oh, thank you. Some great detective you are. Good at being cold as ice, maybe. Have I irked you in some way, Miss Lestrade? Oh, you've been having a snooze in your nice soft bed. Some have been fighting for our lives. Ah, well, that bullet did cause me to lose a substantial amount of blood, it's true. So I've indeed been feeling somewhat cold. Not perhaps as cold as ice, but, well, have a feel. Could you take your hands off my neck, please, Mr. Schultz? Why is his hands on my neck? And, in some way, I suppose, congratulations are in order for you too, Mrs. Strayed. What's that supposed to mean? Why so half-hearted? Well, naturally, it isn't my intention to alarm you, but an acquittal in a trial with that particular prosecutor is perhaps a little precarious. Well done, Mr. Sholmes. Not alarming in the slightest. Oh, the Reaper you mean? Because anyone who's found not guilty in a trial he was working on winds up dead anyway? Is that it? The very point I was trying to make. Is accept the pipe for the fate of Miss McGilded, in fact. Ah, but of course, I pay no attention to such irrational drivel myself. Yeah, well, it don't bother me. Oh, really? Of course not. The way I see it, the Reaper's a bit like I'm upstairs. Him upstairs, you mean? Like God? Yeah, him upstairs knows what's what, right? He knows what people are like on the inside. He won't have the wrong end of the stick. There's some coves like that bog turtle who are rotten to the core. At the end of the day, him upstairs makes sure they get what they deserve. I suppose that's one way of looking at it. Divine justice is one thing, though. The Reaper taking matters in his own hands and claiming lives is another. Well, I ain't like the McGildids of this world, so I ain't scared. I got principles, see? A trait in you which is to be admired, Mrs. Strayed. Oi! Just give it a rest, alright? As I was saying, congratulations are in order. The news of your acquittal was very welcome news to me indeed. Let me express my heartfelt congratulations, Gina. Well, There you are, Hurley! How long have you been here? Honestly, I went to the main entrance especially to meet you there. Ah, Iris, my dear, I do apologize. But, wait until I tell you what happened. This pair made utter fools of themselves. What happened? As you know, I have a penchant for disguise. I was hiding in this room dressed as a bailiff. But these dolts didn't notice my presence at all. Ha 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 ha! They had no idea. Can you imagine, Iris? Would you credit it? I'm not sure, really. I beg your pardon? I'm sorry, Hurley, but you just don't have the weighty presence you seem to think you have. In fact, you really ought to be careful about that. It's going to land you in trouble one day. I'll be careful. Ouch. Anyway, it's such a shame. I was so hoping to throw a party for Ginny tonight. But you won't be able to come, will you? Don't look like I'm going nowhere for a while. You heard the judge's patter. I got stuff to make amends for, apparently. All of them offenses. What was it again? Break and entering, taking the bolt out of stuff, what is a log, blah blah blah. Yes, I think you'll find that basically being a pickpocket is the main offense. But diving ain't an offense. It's a job, ain't it? It's an offense. I don't think so. Still, yeah, it's got me thinking, all this. Maybe I should start looking for another line of work. I mean, you didn't start off as a lawyer, did you, Otto? Well, no. But I was never a pickpocket. Well, anyway, I reckon I could make a change. I'm gonna do something for all of them like me from the slums. Something to make a difference for them. That's a wonderful idea, Ginny. I'm sure you can do it. What is it? Nothing. Miss Gina Lestrade! The prison carriage has arrived, ma'am. Come with me to the rear gate at once. Right. Well, looks like I'm off then. Yes, goodbye, Gina. And good luck. Otto? Yes? Ah! What was that for? I don't know. I mean, I don't know what to say, so... Ah, indeed. Perhaps the situation calls for the phrase hitherto missing from your vocabulary, Mrs. Strayed. Eh? On occasions such as this, I would recommend a simple thank you. Oh. Oh, yes. It's good advice, Ginny. Right, I see. Well... Thanks, Otto. Aww. Thank you for everything, what you've done, for believing in me. Not at all. In fact, that should be my line. Thank you, Gina. Well, there she goes. I wonder if I'll ever see her again. Well, well, quite the indomitable pick purse. Oh, I nearly forgot. I brought a paper outside. It's a special edition, and this trial's all over the front page. Pickpocket's innocence proven. Isn't it wonderful? You should have shown it to Gina, Iris. She would have been thrilled. Oh no! How silly of me. Ah, but anyway, would you like the good news or the bad news? Ugh, not again. Well, what do you say, Bruno? Hurley? As usual, I think I'd rather get the bad news out of the way first. Absolutely not. I have no intention of listening to anything but good news. And there you have it. How people answer that question says a lot about them, doesn't it? Let's not go there. Alright then, maybe let's start with the good news this time. The rain has finally stopped. There was a record level of rainfall, apparently. Well, that is good news indeed. We can journey back in greater comfort. Alright then, what's the bad news? The huge storm has left the seas very choppy. The channel in particular is awful, so sailings out of Dover have been delayed by a day or more. Wait, Dover? That's right. We head to the station immediately. We may still make it in time to wave Susie off. But there won't be a train, surely. We couldn't be that lucky. Who do you think I am, Mr. Naruhodo? Mr. Sholmes? I rushed to Victoria Station earlier and made arrangements for a special express. If we hurry now, we shall be there in time for dinner. And I know a fine restaurant that serves the most delicious baked sole. The great detective does it again. Indeed he does. I happen to be aware of a number of rail transport directors' foibles. What? I merely made my knowledge of them known to the man, and he happily laid on the locomotive. Elementary. Just an idea, but it might be wise to stop manipulating people that way. What are we waiting for then? To London, Victoria! That took somewhat longer than I anticipated. Susie's boat must be about to leave now. Miss Susato, where are you? Oh, over there, look! Looks like she's reading something.
Hold it!
Miss Susato, wait! What are you doing? Mr. Naruhodo? What are you doing here? We came as soon as we could after the trial. I mean, we heard that sailings were being delayed due to the bad weather, you see. Oh, I see. Then tell me, how did Gina's trial go? It went well. She was acquitted. That's wonderful. Really wonderful news. The book you were about to throw into the sea. It was your Encyclopedia of British Law, wasn't it? Oh dear, I was hoping you hadn't seen that. I'm not worthy of practicing law in any way now. So, I was saying my final farewell. You were saying goodbye to law? You, Susato-san? Would I be correct in assuming it's because of the peephole, Miss Susato? I deliberately altered the scene of a crime, and then I tried to hide the fact. What I did is utterly unforgivable. That reminds me. How did you even come to have this, Susie? On the evening of the incident, Mrs. Sholmes had invited Gina to dinner, if you remember. Oh yes, we had a wonderful time. Well, Gina gave us a little introductory lesson, didn't she? The art of pickpocketing, I mean? Oh, that was so much fun. I stole Bruno's armband. Yes, please don't do that again, Iris. That band's very important to me. Well, if it's so important, you should pay more attention to it. You didn't notice for ages. On a whim, I thought it would be fun to see if I could take the cat flap-o-mat, so I put it up my sleeve. Really? And then I rather forgot about it, until I found myself in Mr. Windimake's shop with it later that night. I see. And then... Mr. Sholmes, Mr. Sholmes! Leave you, Mr. Naruhodo. Right. After Mr. Naruhodo had left the shop, I started to think. That door started to play on my mind. The storeroom door, you mean? Yes. If Gina was anywhere in the shop, I realized it could only be behind that door. And at that moment, the little device I had up my sleeve sprang to mind. I was so worried about Gina, I simply had to know. So, I used the cat flap-o-mat to make the peephole in the door. As captured and photographed a print of the shop by one of Hurley's red-handed recorders. Indeed, it was one of the first importance at that point. Precisely when the peephole was made, the information would prove to be Naruhodo's greatest weapon. Though naturally, without proof, it would have amounted to nothing. But when I looked through the hole in the door, the sight of that met my eyes made my blood run cold. Thoughts started to run through my mind. I remembered that trial 2 months earlier, the trial of Magnus McGilded. I thought about how he had manipulated the evidence and arranged false testimonies to secure his freedom. I made the British justice system feel very dark and sinister to me. And then, a terrible thought occurred to me. What if somewhat wicked criminal was planning to do the same thing now? Because from the appearance of the crime scene, it looked exactly as though Gina had shot Mr. Windibank. Even though I was sure she would never have done such a thing. You were worried that the true culprit would try to frame her for the crime? That's right. But then I realized it would be very difficult for anyone to give false testimony in this case. What do you mean? Well, the crime appeared to have happened behind the door of a locked room. If someone had claimed falsely to have witnessed it, there would have to be a way to see beyond the door. Ah. For which, a peephole would be the very thing. Only the peephole I'd made wasn't actually there until after the crime had been committed, of course. And the criminal would know that, so it wouldn't make any difference. But the possibility of a rather ingenious trap was there, was it not? A trap? Is that why she did it? So, is that why you kept it a secret, Susie? You never mentioned that you made the peephole to anyone, not even to the police. I know, and I knew at the time that what I was doing was wrong, a criminal offense even. That's why I deceived to confide in Mr. Sholmes. If Mr. Naruhodo was completely backed to a corner with no other possible means of escape, the truth about the people could save him. That was my plan. She really does think of everything. But then, why didn't you just tell me everything before the trial began? My dear fellow, you're not thinking straight. If she had done that, it would have rendered you complicit in the whole escapade. Ah. You could have been disbarred if you had been seen to have knowingly tampered with a crime scene. So Mrs. L decided to shoulder the burden of responsibility alone. For your sake, and Miss Lestrade's. Mrs. Otto. Truth is, when it happened, I did it because I'd lost a little of my faith in the law. Oh. I was worried that the right person wouldn't be convicted of the crime. But the moment I allowed myself to think that, was the moment I lost my right to call myself a judicial assistant. What you did isn't comparable to what he did. Granted is the one who lied in the witness stand, using that peephole as a way to implicate Gina. And besides, if the peephole inconsistency hadn't existed, I'm not at all sure that she would have been acquitted in the end. Mrs. Otto, what you did saved Gina's life. Well, with your kind words, Mrs. Naruhodo, you've saved me too from my regrets. Well, we must all be thankful that Miss Lestrade's freedom has been assured. Yes, exactly. Although some of the loose ends in that trial will continue to play in my mind, I'm sure. But the revelation that the music box disc contained secret messages, Mr. Naruhodo. What a triumph to work that out. I'm full of admiration. Well, actually, that argument wasn't quite as compelling as I thought it was. Oh? It wasn't? There was a communications officer among the jury members, you see, a telegraph operator. And she said that the majority of the sounds on the disc were just meaningless tones. As one would expect, after all. We are talking about secret government communications. No doubt they were written in cipher to avoid being readily understood should they have been intercepted. In cipher? I see. So, then we could never have hoped to understand the message anyway. Nonsense, my dear fellow. It's quite a zero-pipe problem, I assure you. So, what? Well, it can't be a real word, can it? How funny. Wait! Iris, what'd you just say? Oh, I just said asogi. Does that word mean something to you? Mean something? Asogi was the name of my best friend. What? But how? How do you know that name, Iris? I wrote it down during the trial before, when the message was playing on the music box. She transcribed it on the fly? She really is a genius. I thought the message probably wouldn't be written out in plain Morse code, so I tried various ways to intercept it. But whatever I tried, those words just didn't seem to make any sense. That is, in English at least. Oh. It suddenly occurred to me, you see, there's more than one Morse code, not just the English variety. Various countries around the world have altered and added to Morse code to use it in their own languages. I don't believe it. Are you saying... That's right. I've only actually seen a chart of Japanese Morse code once before. But I think it's based on the Iroha paradigm, isn't it? And you mean to say that in Japanese Morse code the message says asogi? Yes, I think so. Sorry, but I don't remember all of the Japanese Morse code. Iris, would you let me see that? Mrs. Zato, do you know it? Do you know Japanese Morse code? Yes, I spent some time studying it. Because I'm quite sure Morse code will become ever more important for international communications. Then might I recommend, my dear madam, that you focus your efforts on the English version? Be that as it may, Iris, show me the message. Of course. But what can this possibly mean? Whatever is in that long sequence of supposedly meaningless dots and dashes, it's made the color drain from the Zato-san's face. There's no doubt this message is written in Japanese Morse code. So the British Empire has been using Japanese for its secret communications? I don't understand the reason why, but the message appears to be a list of 4 people's names. 4 names. First is Kei Asogi, Kazuma Asogi. Why? Why was his name on that disc? Second is A Shin. Shin? I don't recognize that name. Third is T Gurgison. Guregu. Gregson? Ah, it would seem Tobias Gregson is the 3rd man on the list. And what's his name doing in a secret government communication as well? And the last name... What's the matter, Mr. Sato? It's just so strange, so unexpected. Oh, what is it, Susie? Don't keep us in suspense. The last name is J. Wilson. What? Wilson? John H. Wilson? You mean Daddy? It says only J. Wilson, so I'm afraid I can't be sure. Then after the 4 names, it reads, if I translate from Japanese, that is all 4. And that's the end of the message, or rather, the end of what you noted down, Iris. I just can't believe it. Who would ever have thought that those discs contained Japanese Morse code? Not to mention a strange list of some disturbingly familiar names. It would appear this particular message is a communication of some kind between Great Britain and the Empire of Japan. So, Daddy could be in Japan then. Where's Susie and Rudu come from? Oh, well... no. It's not very likely, really, is it? I mean, there are thousands of people with the surname Wilson, and there must be lots of J's among them. Professor John H. Wilson, visiting professor of medicine at Imperial Yume University. But we can't tell Iris about that now. We just can't. This is so strange. Somehow, it's solving the case of Mr. Winnebake's murder today. I feel like I've rolled back a boulder at the mouth of a very dark cave. I do wonder, perhaps it's a dark cave that we shouldn't go wandering inside. Oh dear, the ship is going to set sail soon. Yes, it seems so. I'll sail on that steamship first to the port of Dunkirk in France. Then I'll change to a larger passenger vessel bound for Japan. You're really going then, Susie. We wish you a safe passage, Miss Susato. Thank you so much. I wish all of you the very best. Miss Susato, I'd hoped to have you always at my side, to guide me and support me. Mr. Naruhodo, please, come back soon. As far as I'm concerned, you really are the very best judicial assistant in the world. Aww, come on, man, not now! I'm quite sure I'll be back before you know it. Really, Susie? Oh, now don't forget, Iris. I made you a promise I've yet to fulfill. A promise? About your manuscript. Ah. Oh yes, the Hound of the Baskervilles. We'll be waiting for you then, Susie. A promise is a promise. Definitely, Iris. Mr. Naruhodo. Yes? Do you remember the first time we met? Yes, of course. On the SS Bureau when I was dragged out from that wardrobe, still half asleep. If I remember rightly, you threw me halfway across the cabin with the Susato takedown. You knew very well that I'm talking about after that. It's strange, but being thrown together as we were in that case, I somehow felt straight away that you were the perfect person to continue Kazuma-sama's great legacy. Miss Susato. And my instincts were right. I really want to believe, no, I'm sure that I'll be back soon. Farewell until then.
Somehow we seem to have come to the end of the adventures of Ryunosuke Naruhodo. Or the first volume, at least. Looking back now, it feels as though fate has led me on this journey. Fate led me to becoming a lawyer, to traveling halfway around the world, to meeting the great detective. I'm sure there'll be trials and tribulations ahead. Of course there will. But whatever happens, I know I'll be able to turn my fortunes around. After all, I have the greatest friends in the world, on my side.
Ah, yes, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes, Mr. Sholmes? I have some rather awkward news. The railway company has decided to sue over the Special Express train, apparently. Huh? It caused such a commotion on the line, all the other trains had to wait at stations. But really, you would never have made it to Dover in time otherwise. Anyway, I explained everything and how it was all your fault. What the dude? Huh? I believe a formal complaint should be delivered to your office tomorrow. But not to worry, my dear fellow. According to Mr. Zato, you love defending yourself in court. It's alright, I'm perfectly happy to testify. He really didn't look like the sort of man who'd do something so outrageous. See? Mr. Sholmes? Yes? A word, if you don't mind. Why, certainly. Any word you like. Bellow it out, my dear fellow. Oh yes, I love Rudo's words. I know just the one he'll use here. Then I really must say... In the following weeks, hundreds of music boxes arrived to the baker's tree from all over Europe. Something was afoot, though it transpired I had ordered them all myself. So I had averted them for sale with used by Mr. Sholmes to solve an important case. And the money I've earned, consulting detective work pays a pittance by comparison. I haven't slept a wink. This manuscript is due tomorrow now. When I'm this busy, Hurley usually cooks me breakfast. Well, cooks is an overstatement for some dry toast and insipid coffee. I do miss Susie and her lovely Japanese breakfasts. Witness, your testimony is riddled with contradictions. Exactly. Rarely do rare common coins hide under rare stakes themselves. Well, Edonosa knows his father is an innocent man, or you call my son a liar. Witness says, my courtroom is no place for your petty arguments. Having delivered the Russian dance to the shore in Shanghai, I laid low in a steamship for a while. But last night, I apprehended an extremely suspicious Japanese national on board. I've done nothing wrong! All I did was give Waghai's offspring refuge in my pocket! A man brings some kittens on board and suddenly he's a hardened criminal! It's not fair! Oh, so he did bring a cat on board. Man, he just can't catch a break. I want to make commentary, but scientific investigation will be the gold standard for policing in the new age. I dream of a world governed by the tenets of order and discipline. Like a great clock, in fact, whose hundreds of parts mesh together in perfect unison. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have but 2 minutes and 37 seconds until my next appointment. Yeah, I want to make commentary, but there are lines that they say during the credits, so kind of letting all those play out properly. Hopefully I get a word in at some point. The latest Rants magazine is out, and I'm in it again. Whenever I say that one line she wrote now, I get a standing ovation. Want to hear it? Not bad, I suppose, for an amateur. Ah, her ladyship puts me to shame. Be visiting the old girl on a daily basis, of course. Joining my old jailbird. Must say, batting with those bally stares every day has done wonders for the dicky pig. Managing rather well with the housework too. Got this maid business taped up, I'd say. Hope the gossiping neighbors don't realize the man of the house is his own maid. My roly-poly is back on the beat again, all thanks to the Reaper. There's nothing I enjoy more these days than hunting out small change in the gutter. I'm a better Bobby now, looking out for Londoners that drop their pennies and my lovely wife. Oh, Pat. Oh, Roly. Looks like I'm gonna be doing time for a bit now. But Iris comes every day for a natter, so it ain't too boring. She's always going on about all them cases what Shulms were looking into. Criminal investigations are kinda interesting when you get into them. Yes, I renounced my upbringing and chose a life of sophisticated crime. But regrets? Please. Give over, bruv. That ain't the Ash we used to know. We ain't got time to plan to come back at Milverton and Skulkin and Pin Run, right? 3 Muskewattits. Milking the neighborhood for all that it's worth. This past 6 months has been a time I shall remember forevermore. Painful goodbyes and wonderful encounters. I've come to realize that's what life is all about. Naruhodo-san, I promise. Your assistant will return to you one day. But for now, I leave you with many memories and a heartfelt wish that life will treat you well. Oh, that's an awesome picture, actually. That's really cute. Okay, there we go. So I think I'm in a good position where I can talk now. So, I'm not completely convinced that this game is over. I want to say there is more to do. Obviously, the story has left things a little open-ended. So, I'm not completely convinced that this is over. Regardless, this has been an amazing experience. All in all, this has been an amazing experience. Again, I am so sorry for the majorly long hiatus that happened between episode 10 and 11. I really don't have an excuse for that other than I just decided to work on something else at the time. But I really appreciate all of you who have been watching these videos. They're still a joy to make. I love this game and the characters, and just, you know, say what you want about like anything in these games. Like, they know how to write good characters. They are exceptionally well at writing just phenomenal characters. And they certainly know how to make every single character, even the villains, I put that very loosely in quotations, compelling. And, you know, there are some genuine evil people in this game, but most of them have compelling reasons to do what they do. I will say one of the big things that kind of was a big turnoff at first when I started this game is that the first 3 cases are super, super unsatisfying, because we just don't get that satisfying feeling of taking down an opponent proper. But it was nice to be able to finally defend a couple people toward the end of the game and really get that satisfaction of, you know, doing Ace Attorney stuff, going into court, investigating, finding evidence to support a client, and doing everything in our power to defend our clients and maintaining our faith in them. It's really satisfying toward the end. And all the cases feel satisfying in some regard, but especially the second and mainly the third case, it wasn't satisfying. But I mean, that was the point, right? It was never meant to feel satisfying. It's supposed to be a work up to that. I don't know what else I could really say, so I'm just gonna kind of let the credits roll, and if something pops up at the end of this road, then I will speak on its behalf. I guess the only thing left to say is, again, thank you guys so much for watching. And if there is more, I will see you all in the next video.